All aboard!
Sorry about that.
Good morning and welcome to the Yuba County Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, November 9th, 2021 at 9 a.m. As a courtesy to others, please turn off cell phones or other electronic devices which may disrupt the meeting. If attending via Zoom, please have your microphones muted at all times when you're not speaking. At all items on the agenda, other than correspondence and board and staff member reports, are considered items for which the board may take action. The public will be given opportunity to comment on action items on the agenda when the item is heard, and comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per individual or group. Supervisor Fletcher, will you lead us in the pledge this morning?
Please stand. Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, next up is roll call, please.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Here.
Supervisor Blazer,
Here.
Supervisor Fuhrer,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Here.
Supervisor Fletcher.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the consent agenda. All matters listed under consent are considered to be routine and can be enacted in one motion. Understand we have a question on one item and we'd like to pull one item.
Well, the question's been answered.
Oh, okay.
By her. I'll just put in there that this appointment on 602, Irma Thurman is for first 5.
Oh, okay. Great.
So just.
If we could pull item 579 for presentation and discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Pull item 579. I will add it under county departments. Okay. So with that, is there any public comment on the consent agenda? Okay. I see no public comment in the room or on Zoom. So.
Motion to approve.
Okay. I have a first.
Second.
I have a second. First was Supervisor Fletcher. Second was Supervisor Vasquez.
If I may, I think there was a lady in the middle who had a comment.
Ah, okay. Can you come up to the podium, please? Yes, please. No
I
problem.
put in a card. I don't know if I filled it out right. Okay,
Sorry about that.
sorry.
Nice.
Well, I'm
Nice
nervous.
job, Seth. Thank you.
I'm not quite sure how this works. I read it very briefly this morning and last night. It's all very confusing and it sounds like it's very much invading in our private lives and property.
Are you Jennifer Silva?
Rachel Silva.
Rachel Silva. Excellent. So I pulled it from the consent agenda. So they're going to actually have a discussion about it. And so they'll present and then you can ask questions or make your comment at that point.
Okay,
Awesome.
sorry.
No problem.
No problem at all. Okay, so seeing no additional public comment, roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer,
With the exception of 581, yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Now we'll move on to special presentations. First up will be 576, 2021. Receive an update from the Yuba County Office of Education. Good morning, Dr. Abelis. If you could make sure, and I think you need to come to the podium over here if that's possible.
I think my colleague here.
Okay.
Good morning, members of the board, pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be here, ladies and gentlemen. The audience is here too. My respect to all of you. Thank you so much. As people know me, I don't like to give my back to people, so no disrespect intended. Okay. Chair Bradford, and again, members of the Board of Supervisors, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm gonna try this, keep this very succinct and to the point, but I also know that it's been quite a while. We've been through a lot. And so I'd like to give you a perspective, but there's two key questions I'd like to respond or to answer, and certainly you will have your own. I would be honored to answer those questions. One is, what does the County Office of Education do? Now, many people know, others don't. I want to make sure we address that one. A lot of information, but I always say go as fast as we can, but as slow as we must. And I will do my best. And question number two, what are some of the compelling issues that are confronting Yuba County? Certainly from your perspective, you very much aware of those issues. I want to highlight some of those that pertain to education. And those questions will clearly lead to other questions, so I'm here to answer. I also have my team here. I have Ms. Amy Knorr. She is the Community Engagement and Emergency Response Administrator. I can tell you that is an earned title. It's evolved. We've been through a lot. And certainly also my other dear colleague is Ms. Bobby Abel. She is the Assistant Superintendent for Educational Services. Bobby, thank you for joining me, and Amy. So you can see we're a team. It's not Dr. Revelis, it's really the whole team. Also, at the presentation towards the end, I have some documents I would like to share with you, but rather than do that right now, Bobby, can you share the documents, please, just briefly, the titles?
The Superintendent Stakeholder Panel on Student Safety and Security, the Children's Summit Issues and Implications, and then what today's presentation is based on, Yuba County Office of Education.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in answering the question, what does the Yuba County Office of Education do? I think it's important to begin first from a frame of reference in terms of the county superintendent. I am Dr. Revelis, the Yuba County Superintendent of Schools. At least where I come from in Texas, we want to know what's your premise here? Who are you versus what you're going to tell us? I'd like to establish that from the get-go. In this document that you will have a little later on, there's a preface there, and I think it's important. It really frames my perspective as the County Office of Education. If you bear with me, I'd like to read it to you. It won't take more than a minute, ladies and gentlemen. It says, 13,000 children. That is the reason the Yuba County Office of Education exists. We have a critical responsibility and duty to serve all children. We are working to ensure safe and healthy schools, quality services for the county's most at-need special education children, fiscal support and guidance for districts, viable career technical opportunities, and effective regional emergency response planning. The County Superintendent of Schools has plenary authority to visit, monitor, audit, and provide advisory guidance to school governing boards to ensure compliance with all laws and regulations pertaining to effective schools. And I will give you examples of those, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, and this is very close to me, something that is, I truly and sincerely put these words forth. It says this: indeed, my core belief is that a quality education in Yuba County must reflect the same fundamental values and aspirations that have shaped our American representative democracy. I truly believe that, ladies and gentlemen. Our core values are not complicated. American values are not complicated. That frames how I approach my position here. As our children grow, learn, and assert their rights as informed citizens, our nation is strengthened, energized, and better prepared to embrace the future. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to frame it like that. Thank you. Let me go ahead and begin here. We have a PowerPoint we're going to share with you right now, Amy. Clearly, I will not be speaking on behalf of our school districts, and you'll understand, you'll get the sense of the structure of the Yuba County office and their relationship to the school district. So my respect to our districts, to our governing boards, our superintendents, but clearly I will not be speaking on their behalf. They have their own voice, but we collaborate tremendously. I want to make sure I put that out there. If we will begin with this, I believe you have that on your screen. It's the PowerPoint. The Yuba County Superintendent of Schools. There are 58 county superintendents in the state of California, 58 of us. And the 58 of us superintend over approximately 1,100 school districts in the state. To give some perspective, in Yuba County, we have 5 school districts and a number of charter schools. Our districts, as you see on here, well, they range: Plumas Elementary, Wheatland High School, Wheatland Elementary, Yuba City, excuse me, strike that. Apologize. Marysville Joint Unified. And by the way, I just had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Asrani, the new superintendent. Godspeed to her. Fantastic superintendent. Godspeed to her, and also Camptonville. But also we have a lot of great charter schools as well. Frequently I am asked, are you in favor of public schools or charter schools? And by the way, I'm keeping it real with tremendous respect. My response is I'm in favor of effective schools, and that's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. Our County Board of Education, my respect to them. We have Desiree Hasty. She is President, Trustee Area 4. Marjorie Reneker, Vice President, Trustee Area 1. John Nicoletti, Trustee Area 2. Carl Ashlock, Trustee Area 3. And Ms. Eva Teagarden, Trustee Area 5. There are, and I'm going to go rather quickly through this because I want to make sure we get into the compelling issues, but this again frames it. There are a number of goals that I have as the county superintendent of schools. Some of those are legislatively delegated. Goal number 1, to assist districts in maintaining fiscal stability through a proactive early intervention system, AB 1200. What happened here historically, briefly, was that quite a few years ago, there were some districts that were going broke, insolvent. They made commitments they couldn't keep. So through the State Board of Education, the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, AB 1200 was enacted. And that what they did was this: county superintendents have broad responsibilities to oversee and take all reasonable actions to improve the business-related and instructional aspects of public education within their jurisdiction. What I do in my office and my team, we review their budgets as well as other issues that deal with instruction. We approve it, I put my signature on it, and we also monitor. It's an ongoing process. County superintendents have the responsibility to review and approve a district LCAP before the district's budget can be approved. Those are what's called the local control and accountability plan. That's more of a localized effort to bring the bucks to the county, to the district level. It's more of a local control, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, Bobby, do you want to say something brief down there real quick?
Well, the local control accountability.
Can you come up to the podium so that the folks on Zoom can hear? That's why we need to do that.
Thank you. I think what's most important to note about the LCAP process is, as a local control accountability plan, often seen as a compliance plan. However, it's more than that. It is actually the district's strategic plan, where they go through a process of identifying needs, then goals are written to align with those needs, actions and services tied to their budget in order to meet those goals. And the county office plays a role in helping the districts through the entire process, as well as then my team makes recommendations to the superintendent for approval.
Thank you, Bobby. You don't stay here for a little bit. I'll get one more. And by the way, we're trying to modulate here the different voices, okay, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you. Bobby, if you could stay here. There you are, Bobby. Thank you. Goal number 2, to promote Brown Act compliance and public participation in education. I do need to share with you the importance of the Brown Act, especially right now, difficult times. The ability for the community to have access, to have a voice into those vehicles are there for them to express that voice. The county superintendent not only has a role, but a duty to support school districts and their boards by monitoring, educating, advising, and taking other actions as may be reasonable and necessary to ensure the right of public access and participation. Along with it, it's what's called the Williams Act. Bobby, you may want to take that one? Sure.
So under the Williams Act, all school districts are required to monitor their instructional material sufficiency, the qualifications of their teachers, as well as their facilities being in good repair. And then districts who have been identified as being in the lowest ranks instructionally are then identified, and it is required that the county office does actual on-site visits to monitor all 3 of those areas. So it's been a long time coming. The California changed their accountability system. However, this monitoring process has been hanging in limbo, and this year we now will be using our new accountability indicators for the first time to identify the school districts that will be monitored. So I really appreciate Marysville. They've been patient with us. Schools have been stuck in that purgatory for a number of years while this legislation has been in limbo. So we have a great collaborative process with Marysville to go through this process with them, and we have never had any findings either.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate that. Let's go to the next page. This is the goal, regional emergency response. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the board, this is one that's really evolved. Think about it. The things we've gone through. I have personally shared this with Governor Newsom on 2 occasions, as I shared with him in his office and once by a Zoom, that this is not our first rodeo. We've been through a lot. And I think back when I first came on board, and this is when Amy, when I first got to bring you on board also, we had the Oroville Dam evacuation. I want you to kind of set the stage for you. Visualize what happened that Sunday evening, afternoon, if you will. I'm thinking as a county superintendent, what if that had happened 12 o'clock when the kids are on the quad Monday? Can you imagine the chaos that would have ensued with that? Luckily, we have a great relationship with the Office of Emergency Services. Kudos to them. I respect to the Office of Emergency Service. They've been very responsive and to the county as well. Thank you. Clearly, there were things that we need to develop, plans, et cetera. As of now, myself and one of my other assistant superintendents, Leslie Sina, we're both have gone through FEMA training. It's pretty involved. And we're also a member on the team for emergency planning. And you can see why. I can give you one other one. By way of anecdotal, when this thing with the Oroville Dam evacuation broke, I was getting calls about, Dr. Velos, can we commandeer some of the buses? You see, as you know, so what, this thing was unfolding very quickly, huh? We need to get in front of this thing here. So, Regional Emergency Response, serve as a primary education liaison on the Yuba County Office of Emergency Response team in times of regional emergencies, evacuations, collaborate and assist in disseminating vital information and updates to Yuba County schools during times of crises. Ms. Nora, since this is your role, can you go ahead and elaborate on those there and I'll add to it, okay, please?
Sure. Yeah, so as Dr. Avelis mentioned, we've been through several emergencies. We've had the fires, which now has brought into play the PSPS events that we've had to navigate through those challenges with our school districts. We've also, back in February of 2020, as we were hearing more about the coronavirus, we felt prompted to reach out to Dr. Liu. If you remember, she was just recently hired January of that year. And so not knowing what the fallout would be from what we were hearing in the news, we called a meeting. We asked for her to be part of this joint effort. We assembled districts from both Yuba and Sutter counties. All superintendents were invited to attend a meeting at, thankfully, Sheriff Wendell Anderson, his office was happy enough to accommodate this meeting. So we held it in their staff room, the big community room. And that's where we came together and really assembled a network of communication, which really proved to be quite helpful as things rolled out in the next few weeks. Unbeknownst to us, we never thought we would ever see schools be shut down. And so we had to act quickly, and we had that network set up from that meeting. So we appreciate Dr. Liu and everybody coming together to help in those efforts. We've had poor air quality where we've had to communicate with our districts as far as do we keep kids indoors? Do we allow them to go out at recess? So we are in constant communication with the air quality control. We also, and we'll go into more of the COVID-19 pandemic later on in our presentation, but we are doing our best with PPE supplies. We've heard about that lately. The need for our schools to have those supplies in order for our students to come back into the classroom. So we work with Cal OES in making sure we order those supplies for them. They're delivered at our district office in our maintenance warehouse, and then they are distributed to our districts for various needs. We're happy to hear it's been kind of sporadic with those supplies being available, not available. We are due to have another shipment, I believe, next week, and it is very much needed as face coverings are in high demand these days at our schools. And with that, Dr. Avelis, I'll turn it over to you to discuss the regional crime-related emergencies.
Yes, thank you, Amy. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank very publicly Sheriff Wendell Anderson, Police Chief Chris Sachs, certainly Ms. Jennifer Vasquez, head of the health. Where are you, Jennifer? She's somewhere around here. Jennifer. It's a team. One of the things we have at the County Office of Education is that no one is as smart as all of us. I may have a doctorate, but let me tell you, they have a lot of wisdom. I'm talking about the team that's here, the team back, Leslie, Bobby, Mary Pahane, Aaron, all are key people. They're really important. We need each other. That's what my respect to all the members that I just noted, as well as other members I'll note later on. The regional crime-related emergency, ladies and gentlemen, my background deals with very violent people. I grew up in a situation, my whole doctor work was around violent people that are locked up, among other things too, by the way. But one of the things that became apparent was the importance that when we have a crime takes place in a district, many times the perpetrators are not confined to the district. Indeed, it could be a running gun battle. And I say that because that actually happened a few years ago. What I'm saying is the need to share that intelligence across districts. If somebody's going up Highway 20, Highway 70, we got to warn the school up ahead to close the doors. Without getting into specifics, that's what that refers to, okay? Crime-related emergencies, okay? But it takes a team. We all got to work together, law enforcement, health, everybody here. And then certainly the last one, I think you mentioned that. Well, before I go there, can you share that one of the safety one? You're going to be getting a copy of this, ladies and gentlemen. I'll give you some context for this. We won't give it to you right now. It's, thank you, Bonnie. This is a document, thank you, that we put together here a few years ago. You may recall, tragically, there were a number of school shootings in the nation. And I was getting calls from governing bodies, from people saying, Dr. Velas, we need some information. Are we going to make the schools what they call hard places, hard lock, right? How about guns on campus? What about windows that are bulletproof? Well, all those elements came up, and what we did as the county superintendent of schools, that we were not in a position to make those decisions for the governing boards of the districts, which we respect tremendously in their superintendents. Rather, we thought we need to give them the information that is science-based, and we did that. Clearly, we couldn't cover all of it, but we put together a distillation of the best practices. You will get a copy of this, ladies and gentlemen. It's titled Superintendent's, let me repeat that, Superintendent's Stakeholder Panel on Student Safety and Security, Yuba County Office of Education. It's got on there. This document, ladies and gentlemen, shares best practices with regards to keeping schools safe. But I'm going to be very candid with you. It's up to the perpetrator how they're going to approach our children. But this presents information that school district board members can use, that you can use when you think about what about school safety? It'll give you a good base reader. You'll get a copy of this also. Okay, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you, Bob. Let me continue here. Let's go on to the next one here. Again, I'm going to try and be as efficient as I can. A lot of information, ladies and gentlemen. Goal, represent and advocate on behalf of Yuba County at state governing and legislative bodies. Ladies and gentlemen, as the county superintendent, my reality does not only exist within Yuba County. Some people accuse me of being Yuba-centric. That's true, right? But certainly we've got great colleagues in Sutter, Placer, et cetera. But to that end, my duty also lies in representing Yuba County from an educational perspective at the state and legislative levels. A number of times I have testified at the Capitol along with issues dealing with guns on campus. I am more than willing. We have great representatives here, great legislative leaders. And also I've met twice, like I said, with Governor Newsom, one to ask about the mandates on other issues as well. Like I said, this is not our first rodeo, real clear, but it's having that presence, as you all know. My respect to all of you, that representation is important. We are here, we matter. Right now, indeed, I am leading an effort right now with the county superintendent 58, that we need more representation from the small counties. I am concerned that the larger counties are kind of, with all due respect to my colleagues, sucking the oxygen out of the air. And I says, no, we matter also. Indeed, I've shared this at the governor's level, actually with the state superintendent, that when the governor is going to visit one of the, I don't want to telegraph political leanings here, I apologize. I'm saying, you know what, we would love to have him come over to Yuba County, come up to the foothills after the fires, but I digress. I have strong feelings about that, so I do represent, my intent is to represent us here, as you all do as leaders at the legislative body as well. Then finally, other core duties and responsibilities, provide special education services to our moderate to severe, which I'll briefly cover later. Credential review and monitoring in collaboration with school districts. That one, by the way, we're working very closely with one of our larger districts in terms of credentials. That's important. We keep track of that. The county office, if a person is in the classroom that has no credentials, clearly there's a lot of implications to that. That falls on us. And I want to thank Ms. Mary Pahane, our Human Resource Executive Director. Administer all county office schools and programs. We have other programs as well. We have TEM, Cardin. These are schools for students who have been adjudicated. They go into the penal system. We want to give them hope. Okay. We also, Bobby, and I want to thank Bobby. I won't have to elaborate, but Bobby, you're the head of that one. Good job, Bobby, on that. Provide professional development and service training for schools, LCAP, CT, and adult, which we'll cover also. community support and involvement. Amy will come back to that. And then finally, other dues as specified by law. I think I've overwhelmed you pretty much. I apologize. Are there any questions?
Questions from the board?
Through the chair, one of the problems we're having out in our communities is safety of kids going home. And you mentioned the school safety report that you're going to give us a copy of. Is that also available to Marysville Joint Unified School District?
Yes, sir, Supervisor Vasquez. As a matter of fact, later today, I'm going to be presenting to the Marysville Joint Unified School Board, and they will be getting the same document.
Okay. And a big question that people have is CRT is not taught in whatever schools that you're involved with. The Marysville Joint Unified School District will answer that question sometime, but it's a big deal out there right now. And according to you, it's not being taught in any of the classes that you.
Thank you for the question. Let me,
go ahead.
Please, I'm sorry.
No. Also, you mentioned that the books in any curriculum that you teach is also, according to you, a matter of public record, so parents shouldn't have a problem accessing that.
A number of questions. Let me go to the CRT one first, and I'll come back. Those are very good questions, Supervisor Vasquez. On the critical race theory, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, that's been in the news an awful lot. I directly, pointedly, with tremendous respect, I asked in a room all our our district superintendents, is it being taught? This was, I believe, a week and a half ago. The response was no, it is not. To that end, though, also you talked about the books, et cetera, which are tremendously, that's an important aspect. Ladies and gentlemen, school districts our existence is in a fishbowl, and that's the way it should be. Those are not secretive documents, and I'm not indicting anyone. All I'm saying is that those should be available to the parents. They have their structures, their governing bodies, their boards. When I get calls from parents, and I received on other issues also, I always say, you know what, it's important to give people the benefit of the doubt, and that's called in good faith. Approach the board, approach the superintendent, first of all, and then the board. There's an avenue for that. Indeed, it goes back to the Brown Act, Supervisor Vasquez. As you know, the Brown Act, that's a hallmark to what we do. It takes secrecy away from this thing. And I did attend a board meeting recently where that was part of the reason that I wanted to underscore the Brown Act. And I'm very comfortable with it, that the Brown Act is in fact being enforced. But certainly as any system, the public is the one that holds us in check, and that's the way it should be, ladies and gentlemen. But I have a lot of faith in that. So yes, back to your question about the books, et cetera. Yes, sir, those are, but again, there are processes, and I encourage the public who wants to view those. There is a process to touch base with the superintendent, and they will inform them what the process is. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Revelis. You put a lot of people's minds at ease.
Well, you know,
because this is a big deal. Parents are allowed to speak at board meetings. They're not terrorists. They're involved parents, and I think that you respect that.
I respect it, and I believe it works both ways. That when you have the meeting, in the sense that we're having this meeting here, ladies and gentlemen, there's a protocol, right? It's important that be maintained. I call that in good faith. So all parties involved need to adhere to a set of core values of practices that ensure that the Brown Act, that free speech is underscored. So I think with that caveat.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to go ahead and services and programs. I'm not going to cover that in depth. You can see some of the programs that we are doing. It's on the, there we go, Amy. Thank you. Pretty broad, you can tell. Okay. I also want to highlight our Yuba County Career Preparatory Charter Child Development. That was really the brainchild of my predecessor, a person I deeply admire, Mr. Rick Teagarden. That was his brainchild, ladies and gentlemen. It's borne fruit in so many ways. It's also led the way. So thank you to Mr. Teagarden. We have child care planning, first five, et cetera. So I won't go through those, ladies and gentlemen, because of time, but you can see that. Again, you'll get a handout on that. Now let me jump into compelling issues. Clearly, these are not all of them. I want to highlight, underscore those that are confronting our schools, our children, district level, county level, indeed state and regional. One is the pandemic. Yuba County Office of Education, along with districts, are navigating the pandemic. But with that, Amy, I'm going to turn it over to you, please.
Sure. So this has been fun. A little bit of an exciting, almost 2 years now. But schools, you know, you've heard it. I mean, teachers, everyone is overwhelmed. And as we waited, I remember as we were in our conference room, all meeting as a team, waiting for the update to come in on a press release at noon on one day. And I think we were there till 7 or 8 at night, trying to figure out how we were going to work through this new guidance. And so it's been an ever-changing world of updates. We went through a process where we worked with Dr. Liu, and we were the hub for all of our districts to turn in their reopening plan. They were to turn in their waiver so that they could return students to in-person instruction. So just as we had that process already established, we were reviewing and approving and sending back for edits, the state changed their mind and decided we're not going to do the waivers anymore. So it's just been this roller coaster ride of ups and downs, a lot of downs, but I will tell you, educators are heroes, and I think you all will agree with that. They have weathered many storms. We have seen the good, the bad, the ugly throughout this pandemic, and it is really overwhelming to see those who can truly come to work every day with a smile on their face, with that motivation to just keep going, to teach our children. One thing that I'm sure everyone has heard of throughout the United States is a staffing shortage. So Yuba County Office of Education, that is not something that we're not familiar with. We faced that prior to the pandemic, but it has become even more so with people being either not comfortable working, or we have people who are in quarantine, which has caused some classrooms to close down. It's just been an ever-changing, I feel like it's been a challenge that we're trying to still face, and we'll continue to work on that. We also have, and Dr. Reveles will speak to this, as this has rolled out, we've learned more about the district and board member, what the liability is for our county office, for our school districts, if they do not comply with these mandates. And so I'll turn that over to you, Dr.
Thank you, Amy.
Reveles.
I think the key word, operative word, is fatigue. Everybody's fatigued. District, school, personnel, classified, our brothers and sisters in labor, our administrators, they're all fatigued. You're fatigued too. The community here is fatigued. The fact of the matter is they say on that movie Apollo 13, right? Failure is not an option. We don't have the option of saying, nope, we're going to wrap it up. We got to hang in there, stay in there. I'm not trying to be all noble, ladies and gentlemen, but as you do, you've had very controversial issues. I admire that and I respect you for that. I wrote a piece for the Appeal Democrat called True Leadership. Many times the way I frame it is it's a right versus right. Those are the most ethically challenging decisions we have to make. It pits one right against another one. My right to take my children to school without a mask versus the safety right. That's as we get older, you see all the gray hairs, the right versus rights really become underscored, and that calls for a strong ethical perspective on how we approach this. We have to explain that I am not lecturing you, that would be disrespectful. I'm just saying that's my reality. Having said that though, it's also incumbent on me to look as the county superintendent, provide information for our districts. What are the legal liability implications? On my desk right now, I have a legal brief from our legal counsel that says that should a case develop in a school due to an inaction, something that happens, and there is a COVID case, and I don't want to speculate, but I asked those questions, the what ifs. I have to do that. In there, it's been very clear that there is, and I want to underscore this, personal liability on the part of the governing board and the superintendent. I'll think about that, ladies and gentlemen. That carries a lot of implications. Personal liability. So I'm not going to telegraph this way, that way. All I'm saying, that's the reality we operate under. So when I talk about district and board member liability, they're very conscious of that. I respect our board presidents, our boards, and our superintendents. They're dealing with that reality right now. That is the landscape on which they operate. There is personal liability for board members right now. So you can see their decisions are very critical. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I'm going to go to the next one. Any questions on that? That was a loaded one, huh? I apologize. But coffee's kicking in. Normally, I do have a sense of humor, ladies and gentlemen, but right now, as you can see, it's very serious here. And thank you for your time. Mr.
Dr.
Vasquez.
Ellis, I'd like to ask one question. Nationwide, I think the deaths in the age bracket of 0 to 17 was 451 nationwide. Do you agree with the vaccination requirements for children at that age? They're just naturally resilient to it. It's less than 1/10 or 1/100 of percent. So,
Mr. Vasquez, you asked me a direct question. I'll give you a direct answer. My background is in microbiology. I got a degree in biology and chemistry. Right now, that the science that people allude to, that is subject to interpretation, ladies and gentlemen. That complicates it. The question, for me to answer that question, involves a science that we have, but people will always share other perspectives from that science. So what I'm saying to you, Mr. Vasquez, is that the science is coming in, positions have been modified, but because it has a lethal implication, whether you're vaccinated or not, I cannot give you a yes or no on that one. That would be, I could not do that. That would be on my part, denying that there's different perspectives on this thing here. That is not a political answer, that's just a reality. There are different perspectives, and because it involves people's health, students, staff, and it involves operating schools, I would say let's let that science keep coming in, let's keep evaluating that, and let's assess it as we go. That's probably the best answer I can give you, Supervisor Vasquez.
the reason I asked, I've had questions about that. Parents feel strongly that it's up to them to decide what's best for their children. And a lot of them, as you've seen, have acted, have felt strongly about that. And in evaluating situations, you say, is that a hill to die on? From a lot of parents, that's a big hill. They will. Okay.
I concur. I concur. And by the same token, we've got parents who also feel real strongly about vaccination as well. And that's the right versus right scenario, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, things are still evolving, but we certainly right now need, well, I think without elaborating too much more, I think you understand where I'm coming from, ladies and gentlemen. I think I'll leave it at that. Other questions?
I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Ravelis.
Yes, sir. Supervisor.
On career technical education, it's encouraging to see more and more of that. What do you see as future plans for expanding on that?
Well, that's going to put a smile on my face, Supervisor Blazer. And what I'll do is I'm going to come back to that one. That is one of the compelling issues. With your permission, I'll defer that one and I'll come back to that. Thank you. That's a great question. Thank you so much, sir. Social emotional. We talk about the impact of COVID on our children. For that one, I'm going to invite my colleague, Bobby. Come up here briefly. Thank you.
So I would agree with what Ms. Knorr has shared, that this definitely has been a challenging almost 2 years for us. One of the interesting things to think about is where were we with regards to social emotional learning and mental health regarding students in Yuba County prior to the pandemic. And it was a concern at that time. We knew that the school violence was increasing across the nation, school shootings, a lot of ties back to bullying and ties back to how students were being treated by staff, treated amongst their peers. And one of the things that we know has happened with the pandemic is students isolated. And those of us that interact with kids on a regular basis know that they are just little social creatures, right? And that's what they're all about. And so for them to now not be not only mental health for students, but also social emotional learning. The one point that I wanted to make here today is there's a distinct difference between those two domains. And initially when we started, the county office had the opportunity to take a leadership role and support our school districts and in supporting their capacity to provide student supports in social emotional learning, or SEL. I thought it was the same thing. We often talk about a tiered system, tier 1 being what we do for all students, tier 2 being what we do for some students when tier 1 wasn't successful, and then tier 3, the most intensive set of services that we provide for a few students that need it. And I was thinking that social emotional learning was down at the bottom, and then tier 3 would be those clinical mental health supports. But in fact, since then, because it's our job to support our districts, we had to figure out the difference between the two. So I'll leave a little handout at the back table for each of you. But social emotional learning is just the competencies that we as human beings need to develop. And then in a tier 1 setting, we are explicitly teaching that now to all youth. So through all of the grade spans. The most recent health education framework and curriculum addresses that. It really is, and I've been in education for over 30 years now, and when that framework rolled out, the health education framework, I was really excited because I think it really gives youth what they need, is those competencies to understand their emotions, understand how to navigate difficult social situations, as well as the fun social opportunities that youth have at school. And then mental health, of course, are those cognitive, behavioral, emotional issues that come up with clinical diagnosis and how they are then addressed and go through therapy to address those needs. So again, it is something that we are seeing an increase in youth. And I'm really glad working with Jen Vasquez and Health and Human Services on some collaborative processes to support our schools in identifying the youth that need the support the most. And then again, going back to the local control that comes along with the LCAP process, is what we need here in Yuba County is different than what LA County needs. It's different than even what Chico needs. And what Lyndhurst High School needs is different than what Marysville High School needs. So it really depends on digging into that local context and working with each of the local school communities and identifying those needs, and then being there to support the processes we put in place. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Bradford, thank you for your time. I'd like to ask respectfully if I could have a little more time.
Sure.
Would that be okay? Thank you so much. As you know right now, and I know some of you personally, I like to keep it real, because I know you do too. So let me go to the next slide. This really speaks to the fallout. 200, and I'm on this one. There you go, Amy. No, back up one more. There you go. 250 youth were assessed. This is here in Yuba County for 5150, which is a suicide evaluation hold at Adventist Rideout between January 2021 and August 2021. Point number 2, multiple local therapists are reporting higher levels of depression and anxiety among age groups in the community and higher requests for counseling compared to 2019 and prior. The source was Stephanie Fisher, MFT, and colleagues. Next one, nationally, rates of depression and anxiety have doubled in children, and rates are 25.2% for depression and 20.5% for anxiety. Next one, a recent UCLA study found that 45% of California youth are struggling with mental health issues. The most at-risk population includes those in poverty, those struggling with gender identity, female adolescents, multiracial adolescents, those born outside the US, and adolescents between the ages of 15 and 17. If I can direct you to the other one, again, mental health or youth. How about the next one, Amy? There you go. Youth homelessness in Yuba County. Homelessness, the source is Yuba County District Liaison. This information is coming from our districts. Marysville had a report 150 children who were reported as homeless, 150. Wheatland Union High School, 17. Wheatland School District, 15. Plumas Lake, 3. YCOE sites, 34. The YCOE prevention staff, and I want to acknowledge Ms. Amy Molina Jones, that this is her department under Bobby's leadership. YCUE prevention staff is seeing the following: students suffering from a lack of social emotional skills. Students are getting caught using tobacco, vaping products at a higher frequency than pre-COVID and at a much stronger, younger age, 6th grade. Next one, special education, ladies and gentlemen. And I believe there's one more after this. Right now we have about, in the county office, we serve the moderate to severe students, none of those with really serious disabilities, not serious, but very compelling, very critical disabilities. We have moderate to severe students, 73% were classified 2002 to 2021. The rate of autism has increased by 35.3% from 2018 to 2021. But if you look at this longitudinally, is there a pattern? The third one, it says the rate of autism in Yuba County has increased by, that's not a typo, 1,190% from 2002 to 2021. Clearly, that's a large span, huh? But it shows you the rate, it's been increasing here, the rate of autism in Yuba County. Since the onset of COVID-19 pandemic, the operation of special education programs, has experienced classroom closures due to overexposure of virus, resulting in staff shortages, teachers, service providers, and paraeducators. This has triggered an increase in rates of late mandated IEPs, individual education plans, overdue assessments for students, and learning loss, which can result in the rise of legal filings by families. That's a real critical issue, ladies and gentlemen. The things that need to be done legally, educationally sound for special needs children. And if those are not met, we darn better will have an answer. A judge will not be as lenient. You need to meet those. So you can see, on the one hand, the need to quarantine, the need to do those things that we need to do, right? And I'm repeating myself, but those things that need to be, that are required. And then the other thing, we have to provide that program. So as a county superintendent, we're working with my team and working with districts, the importance of navigating that. So the students are met, their needs are met, and also that we can continue as a viable structure. The County Office of Education, we provide services on that. Any questions on that data? Ooh, there's more, but I'll stop right there. I think with that, let me turn the corner, because this sounds pretty, and I apologize to the audience, sounds kind of dark, huh? But there is, what it does is it selects for very positive individuals in our districts, yourselves, the community here, law enforcement. That's what it selects for. People who are saying, you know what, Ravelis, let's do this. Bobby, Amy, our team, with their masks that are clammy. You look at them and you see their eyes that are bloodshot. Let's do it again. Get up in the morning, say, let's go back to the school and serve these students. I mean, that have all the people there. So with that, I want to frame that, the dedication. Amy, can you share this clip for us, please? It's only about 3 minutes. I think you can do it. Special ed.
My name is Carolyn Sasaki, and I'm the teacher for the visually impaired. We're here at the Education Support Services Office at the Yuba County Office of Education. Students like Alex in first grade are learning their numbers, learning to count, and learning to write. So Alex is typing using the Perkins Brailler, and a lot of what he's typing we are explaining to him as he goes, and so he will be typing the numbers 1 through 100 or as far as he can go. He then will use this to practice reading those same numbers, so he can identify numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through, I believe he's gotten through the 50s. Instead of writing, Alex has some fine motor difficulties. We are asking him to braille the numbers.
I like how Alex is reading his braille letters. Great job, Alex. I have the privilege to be one of the paraprofessionals here that gets the opportunity to work with Alex. We come in every day excited, and that makes our job so rewarding when we see how our students grow and blossom.
So one of the pieces of equipment Alex was using was an iPad, and we find iPads to be very beneficial to our students. They're very accessible. They have a lot of features that the visually impaired can use. This is called a Bookshare App. It's something available through the state of California, and it's for students or people who have visual impairments, and they can download thousands and thousands of books and enlarge it to their liking. So this magnifier will enlarge print. He can find what he is reading here. Using the knobs, he can adjust the size greater or larger to his liking. We can also change background colors. We can also adjust brightness and contrast to some degree. There are various types of magnifiers. This is just one of them. So this is a book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. It's a beginning reader book, and it has a lot of visual and tactual aspects to it. If a student is fully blind, we would want to actually give him a caterpillar so he could feel that caterpillar and then come to the conclusion that this is a representation, a two-dimensional or three-dimensional representation of what he is holding in his hand. It's easier if we have several modes of input. What we do is a lot of repetition. Here's A, but then we will give them examples of apple. Here's an apple. So they would feel what an apple feels like, or know that an apple is an apple, so they could feel the apple and then understand that the letter A that they are feeling is actually representing that sound, ah, for apple. We teach them how to open a book from right to left, but then we are reading from left to right. This story has a progression of events involving a tree and how it gets leaves and how the cat climbs the tree in order to see the bird. Sometimes a student won't be able to visualize that, so we place on a board and understand that a tree grows, that a bird can sit on its branches. Maybe a kitty cat can come by to look at the birds. So he can place the progression as the book moves along.
Thank you, Amy. Clearly dedicated people, but that really typifies educators across the county, ladies and gentlemen. I go out to the schools, I visit the schools, I talk to students, I speak to administrators. I had the honor of speaking to all of the administrators from Marysville Joint Unified at the invitation of Dr. Asrani. It was great. I talked about what is the purpose, why are we here? Those are those real existential questions that we get asked. Why am I doing this? I mean, we don't get at the best pay and we're exposed daily. So those are critical questions. But again, that selects for a very strong individual. I want to thank Ms. Leslie Sina, her team, for her leadership with regards to special needs services, and certainly all of the boards and superintendents. The last one is adult and career technical compelling issue. Clearly there's more. Supervisor Blazer, I think this will speak to your question. I want to acknowledge and commend our area high schools. You've seen those, right? Whether it's in Marysville Joint, Wheatland High School, our charter schools, they offer, I believe, very excellent, exceptional, exemplary career technical programs. Automotive, veterinary science, a certified nurse's assistant, medical assistant. I mean, they're out there, and there's a variety. As a county superintendent, in collaboration with those districts, what we're looking at is also a need, meaning that right now our employers are also, they need employees. And so how do we connect those dots? How do we create linkages there? So what the county office is doing, and I want to acknowledge Mr. Ken Hamill, I appointed him as the head honcho on that, is that to help broker those relationships with our area schools. They're doing great things, but it's what happens after a student leaves the high school, where I think the county office of education can play a vital role connecting. Let me give you an example. A few months ago, we met with labor leaders here in Yuba County, indeed from Yuba-Sutter, and they posed a very compelling question. They said, you know, Dr. Velas, we've got great apprenticeship programs, and Supervisor Vasquez, we touched on this. Thank you for the conversations we've had on this also, and for your input on this, your guidance. And what they shared, the labor leaders, and there were quite a few of them in the room. Bobby, how many would you say? There must have been about 15 of them. Yeah, and these are very head labor leaders. And they're saying, you know, we got apprenticeships, Dr. Velas, but by the time we get them, they're 30 years old, 28. And so that's why we're looking at why is it a gap in there when they graduate from school? So now we are working on creating those linkages. We are working very closely. I want to thank Ms. Marnie Sanders, the Chamber of Commerce. We're working with them, we're collaborating. We have meetings that will be coming up. We will be speaking to them. We're also coordinating with, like I said, with our labor leaders, with employers as well. We've had some communication briefly with the Hardwa Casino also. There's a lot of players at Adventist Health. I think everybody wants help, because one of the issues that's critical to me as the county superintendent, to all of us, is that there is a pattern of youth leaving our community. That's disturbing to me, ladies and gentlemen. They want opportunities. I'm happy to say that right now, I feel we're pointing in the right direction. We've got, like I said, laborers involved here. We've got our business community also. We've got our schools. It is not to detract what the beautiful things that our school are doing. It's in fact to enhance what they're doing, to create those linkages. So when you're in in a counselor's office, I'm a former head school counselor in another life. When a counselor reaches for careers, college, community college, that's beautiful. The military, we respect that. But also readily available quickly is opportunities to go into apprenticeships. Those have to be available right away. And that's where we're working, ladies and gentlemen. So at this point, it's a work in progress. COVID has hindered us. We've had to truncate some of the meetings. I'm sure you'll be invited. The Chamber of Commerce is having a great business connection presentation we were presenting along with Mr. Tom Russer with Yuba-Sutter. So, Mr. Blazer, you may have more questions, sir.
That's good, thanks.
Thank you, sir, for your question. Finally here, let me just finish this off here and then by way of closing. This is one where working with my team here, I like to call them the Jets, BLF for base, you get it? They're the Jets. They really are. They really are. Their initiative, their vision is important. For me, vision is something that we need to have, something that needs to be operational. We have a vision, but how do you operationalize on a day-to-day? Okay? And again, I want to underscore the role of our children and our families. They're the bottom line. As somebody asked me a while back, they said, Dr. Velas, you're listening to my concern, and I mean this sincerely in a humble way. I says, well, you know what? I work for you. And that's not a political statement. That was really true, and it resonated in one of the board meetings. And that's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. I am here because the parents and our children, it is about them. Having said that, though, our community involvement has really been on adrenaline here, and I want to credit Ms. Amy North for that. Amy, can you briefly share some of the things that we're involved in through your action, please? And then we'll conclude the meeting.
I'll try to be brief because we've been really busy, even with the pandemic. So most recently, I'm sure you heard about the touchless water filling stations. We heard about our drinking fountains being shut down at our school sites. And so working with Jackie Silman from Yuba Water Agency and Dee Dee Cordell, we were able to get 2 sources of funding through Cal Recycles and Yuba Water Agency to replace all of the drinking fountains throughout the county with these touchless water bottle filling stations. So where are they? I don't know if you remember, we started this back in April. They were ordered, I believe, the end of April. They're still in transit. So last week I heard the original, it was supposed to be May, now July. We're now looking at November 23rd. So hopefully, this might be a nice Christmas gift, not sure, but hopefully those will be installed in our schools shortly. But we have the privilege to work with so many organizations. One thing I would like to share is that our employees, Yuba County Office of Education, we're rather small compared to other county offices. Right now we have about 234 employees. I want you to know that they are very generous. We donate every year to the United Way. In fact, we had a competition a couple of years ago, a tri-county competition, and little YCOE came out on top as being the most generous in giving a yearly contribution of over $2,300. So not only are our staff incredibly dedicated, hard workers, but they also are dedicated to our community with volunteering and giving of their time. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. I think you can see right there, Amy, you underestimate. Those are the things that Amy has really, with her leadership, working with organizations, you got the Chamber of Commerce, the SALA, Yuba-Sutter Arts, I can't speak. I mean, they're just fantastic, all these organizations and what they do for a community, which really leads me to my final point. And by the way, before I go to Yuba College, I want to underscore, we work very closely with Yuba Community College, the district, certainly under the leadership of Dr. Dotson, under the leadership of the Vice Chancellor, Sonia Lolan, Dr. Lolan. We are currently working on what's called a NorCal Teach Up credentialing program. What we're trying to explore is, can we, in fact, in a collaboration partnership, develop a credentialing program for our own teachers here in Yuba County through Yuba Community College District, and again, through Yuba College. That's important. As a former professor at Sac State for 23 years in the credentialing program, I think I can bring that kind of maybe understanding about the value, because we can grow our own teachers, paraprofessionals. They're going to stay in the community, huh? When they're coming out of here, it's better than coming in here. I know I have family here. So I want to certainly thank Dr. Dotson, Dr. Lolan for their leadership on that and their invitation to join. There's also another thing with Yuba College, which is great, that dual enrollment with our schools. That's paying an awful lot of dividends. Again, my certainly respect to all our county superintendents for involving that. And also Yuba Community College also hosts our Virginia School, one of our special needs programs as well. So thank you to them. By way of closure, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much. And I went way over my time. It is an honor. It's been a while, but I'm here now, and we are in the community. We're right with you, ladies and gentlemen. I think by way of closing, you will be getting a copy of this. This is more in depth because it really outlines the first question that I posed. What does Yuba County do? It's in here, ladies and gentlemen. We covered some of the compelling questions. There are more. Clearly, there are more. I want to thank you all for your leadership. I mean that sincerely, but by way of closure, one of the things that strikes me about Yuba County is our diversity, not only culturally, linguistically, economically. That's rich. And so when we get into issues that I feel sometimes would detract, it's important to remember the key words. And I'm saying this, these are words that you all hold dearly, we hold dearly, but let me share these words with you, and then I will have a concluding comment. And you may recognize this. It says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Then the next one, that's from the Declaration of Independence, ladies and gentlemen. The preamble to the U.S. Constitution, it says, we are the people of the United States in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, no matter what we go through, whether it's COVID, CRT, etc., I have a lot of faith, as you do too. I've said before, American values are not complicated. They're core values, ladies and gentlemen. It is up to us. They challenge us, and it is up to us to live up to those words. I have faith that we will. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. Mr. President, thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reveles and Bobby and Amy. Any final questions from the board?
Yes, Dr. Reveles, you piqued my interest in a couple of ways. Number one, 1,190% in autism increase. And that shows me that they're refining that term autism. And you're taking children that normally drop through the cracks and providing service. And the career training, we're the only place in Northern California that has a union training school in Marysville. The closest one to us is Dublin. And the union owns the whole hill in Dublin. And I think that's a unique opportunity that you're going to take advantage of and provide a better life for the people in Yuba County. So thank you very much for your effort.
Thank you, Supervisor Vasquez. Ladies and gentlemen, any other questions? Thank you for the privilege of your time.
Dr. Reveles.
Thank you.
Just a quick comment, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
So you have covered a tremendous amount of information in a relatively short period of time. We appreciate you coming and having this discussion. And hopefully this discussion does get out to the public to let them know the involvement you have in our community. I'm very impressed with the fact that you're working and communicating with other departments. As we know, the last 10 years, and I was on the Board of Education 10 years ago, and we didn't have any of these issues. A lot of things have changed. And with you keeping up with that model and making things better with Yuba County, our future is attached to our education and through our health and human services. I can't help but believe the more time you spend with them and Dr. Liu to make it a better place to live, to bring people back to Yuba County, to make them comfortable and safe here. It's really attached around what you're doing and your core interest that bring others to the table. So thank you for what you do. And I'm sure you don't hear that enough. And it's coming from here. And I'm sure the rest of the board has very similar feelings. So again, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Fletcher, members of the board. Godspeed. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Reveles. Okay, next up is item 591, 2021, present proclamation to Sutter Yuba Homeless Consortium regarding November 2021 as Homeless Awareness Month. So, Mr. Johnny Burke, I'll meet you up at the podium. County of Yuba Board of Supervisors proclamation honoring November 2021 as Homelessness Awareness Month. Whereas homelessness is a challenge that has existed in Yuba County, across the state, and throughout the nation for many decades, impacting the lives of individuals and families, many of whom come from our very own neighborhoods. And whereas Yuba County partners with numerous public and private agencies to develop solutions to homelessness that truly address the underlying situations for each individual who finds himself or herself homeless. And whereas since December of 2015, Yuba County and its partners have been rapidly implementing shelter and housing programs that are designed with best practices to resolve homelessness. And whereas programs such as the Housing Support Program, 14 Forward, the Housing and Disability Advocacy Program, Home Safe, Bringing Families Home, the Life Building Center, the Coordinated Entry System, Hope Vista, and Sierra Vista have been achieving success as collaborative resources added within the last 6 years, increasing shelter beds and housing stock. And whereas we recognize that many of those living on the streets are people from our own communities who fell into hard times or endured other difficult situations that carried them into homelessness, and that it often takes the strength of the whole community to help them regain hope and independence. And whereas it is important to educate the public about the many reasons people are homeless, including the shortage of available housing for very low income residents, and to encourage support for homeless assistance service providers, as well as community service opportunities through mentoring and relationship building. And whereas the people of Yuba County recognize that homelessness continues to be a serious problem for hundreds of individuals and families in the region, and that we as a community cannot stand idly by as long as the struggle continues. Now therefore be it resolved, the Yuba County Board of Supervisors hereby joins in recognizing November 2021 as Homelessness Awareness Month, and encourages all citizens to be aware that many people do not have housing and need support from residents as well as private and public service entities. So thank you, Johnny, for the work that you and the Homeless Consortium and all that our partners do on a daily basis to address homelessness in our community. So if you'd like to say a few words, you're welcome to.
Yes, thank you so much, Chair. Thank you, Board of Supervisors. On behalf of our Board of Directors from the consortium, of which a couple are present today, just want to thank you and all of our partner agencies for your care and concern for our community. This month, we're doing our best to educate and involve the community even more. Yuba County has been an absolute leader in helping folks go from experiencing homelessness to housing, and we look to continue to partner with you, and thank you so much for this today.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Any comments from the board on that item? Okay.
They're doing one of the best jobs in the state. Dollar for dollar, when Sacramento takes a homeless person and puts them in a $300,000 condo in a gated community, I think it's a little over use of government funds, and I think we do the best job in the state about providing good help for the homeless.
Absolutely. Okay, we will move on to our last special presentation for today, item 597, 2021. Receive update on Yes Team redesign to Yes to Yuba.
Chair, members of the board, before they get started on that, I just wanted to do a quick intro of the presenter and the topic. As the board is keenly aware, because the board has really been a driving force behind this, is if you really want economic development in Yuba County itself, Yuba County government needs to be business friendly. And we've definitely been making strides in that regard. And really the presentation today is really the next evolution of having our Yuba County organization be more business friendly. And so before you is Rachel Downs, not to be confused with Rachel Rosenbaum. I know we have two Rachels, and they both do outreach to the public. Rachel Rosenbaum is part of our public information officer team. Rachel Downs is a manager in community development. And Rachel has been spearheading this Yes to Yuba effort, and I'll have her take it from there. Thanks.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. Good morning, Chairman Bradford, members of the board. Again, Rachel Downs. Very glad to be presenting this effort to you. So first, I'll start with the initial intention of Yes to Yuba, and then a little bit about the catalyst of how it kind of came to life in 2020, and then the evolution of that vision moving forward. So first, the idea, as Mr. Mallon has mentioned, of a vision set forth by your board to make Yuba County a place where it's easy to do business was really on the horizon. Having a designated person for developers, commercial real estate agents, or business owners to connect with inside of the county. At each step along the way, our individual departments are very yes-minded, as we like to say, but in more complex development projects, sometimes the continuity of communication across departments can get a little bit more complicated. So for that reason, Yes to Yuba is intended to be that concierge service or regulatory translator, if you will. There we go. Sorry about that. All right, so as the vision of Yes to Yuba was gaining steam, we entered into March of 2020. The idea of a team that could support businesses through regulatory guidance, creatively and ingeniously finding a path to yes, was truly catapulted into existence. County leadership asked myself, Jason Copping, Melanie Marquez, and Cassie Dunlap to form a COVID-19 task force of sorts, if you will. I also want to say thank you to Jackie Silman, who I know is online with us today, for really being instrumental on behalf of the Yuba Water Agency in supporting our community outreach and engagement during this time as well. So after a few days of brainstorming with our handy dandy whiteboard, we really agreed that we wanted to do more than just preventing viral transmission or sharing masks with the community, as PPE supplies at the time were very hard to procure. We really wanted to change the way our community felt when they interacted with the county. So we knew that we had to build trust and relationships, being personable and approaching situations with an invitation for change and education, never with citations or mandates. We rapidly digested new and ever-changing information in this really unknown time. And as non-public health employees, we were able to translate the complex guidance into really practical and manageable solutions customized for each individual business. So for example, we worked with people like Robert and Natalia at the River's Edge Pub in Marysville, who already had plans to build a commercial kitchen. They just hadn't quite got there yet in their business. So when the regulations were for indoor dining and bars to discontinue, we were able to partner with Brenda at the EDC, who was administering the CARES Act grants from the county, and support them financially in that endeavor, as well as working through the permitting process of building a commercial kitchen with environmental health, for one example. Another example is not only did we provide thousands of masks to Bishop's Pumpkin Farm, but we also creatively thought through the most congested areas of their operations. And I don't know about you guys as we're concluding the season, Supervisor Bradford, but if you're me, it's gonna be in the food lines. So some of the suggestions that we made were having QR codes on their menu so that people could go up and scan the menu and then walk away to a more socially distanced area. And so that was one of the suggestions that they adopted last year. And then also we partnered with our internal planning department to create a process for outdoor dining expansion and proactively shared it with all the food facilities in the county well before the indoor dining restrictions were set to take effect, so our businesses could plan accordingly, get the necessary permits, and then move outdoors, allowing them to remain. And then along the way, the nomenclature of YES, which stands for Yuba County Enterprise Solutions, was developed. The word enterprise is a noun, a project or undertaking, typically one that's difficult or requires effort, and secondly, a business or a company. We felt like this was a really appropriate name for a team on a mission to find solutions for our community during very unfamiliar and uncharted waters. So as time evolved, the COVID-19 outreach was shifted to our public health department, and the vision of Yes to Yuba continues to live on with the same helpful attitude and creative problem-solving approach, yet applying it to the world of business development. This brings us to the vision of Yes to Yuba today and moving on into the future. Yes to Yuba in the initial launch will focus on small existing businesses. I know Supervisor Fletcher that you recognize this picture from Brownsville and the Mountaintop Coffee Shop up there. Then evolving in sophistication to include larger development projects like the Employment Village or the UARC, which I know the Yuba Water Agency is working very diligently on. The way I look at it is whether a business owner is a local coffee shop owner, a high-profile CEO, or an ingenious entrepreneur, we're all people. People living, working, and playing in Yuba County, and the same goes for those of us in Yuba County government. We truly are here to help, and we want to build a rapport with our businesses. But again, Yes to Yuba is more than just one person or one team. It's an enhancement to the existing development process, and so you'll notice today that we have representatives from the Chamber of Commerce, the Yuba-Sutter EDC, some of your colleagues at the Yuba Water Agency, because this is a county-wide movement where because across public and private jurisdictional lines, we're all saying yes to Yuba and yes to business in Yuba County. Moving on. As a tool to broadcast this message, we've also updated Yes to Yuba's online presence. This website, in its most simple form, is an invitation for a conversation. It's a message to businesses looking to start, grow, or expand and relocate their business in Yuba County that we're here to work with you, saving you and us time, energy, and resources. So I invite you all, public and our board, to visit yestouba.com, .org, .net. Any of them will get you there anytime at your convenience. So what can you expect when working with Yes to Yuba? Connecting, developing, and navigating. Connecting. Yuba County has an abundance of support services for our business community from financial, workforce, and entrepreneurship space. We're here to connect you. Developing. Public investment in infrastructure and housing can directly impact the future of business growth. So we're here to share that vision of development in Yuba County and what's on the horizon. Navigating. We're here to help you navigate the local regulatory process of permits and licenses specific to your unique business needs. In essence, it's a roadmap. Wherever a business owner or developer is along the way, it's hearing out their goals, assessing the steps they've thus far taken to get there, and an honest conversation about the realistic possibility or mechanisms by which to achieve those goals. So some examples. Connecting. Yes to Yuba is discovering new local businesses like Bailey, who's an awesome mompreneur and started her business in 2020. When the Appeal Democrat asked myself and Courtney with the Chamber of Commerce, what new businesses have started in Yuba County recently? Of course, we had to help them make this connection. Yes to Yuba is meeting Renee and Steve, Paradise Fire victims, who relocated to Yuba County and purchased the Willow Creek Campground near Camptonville. When I heard from Environmental Health that they had expanded their business with a new market, I wanted to call and congratulate them because I actually met them while I was camping with my own trailer and my 2 dogs and had some great fire time conversations with them. But then I learned in that conversation that they were actually struggling and needing some financial support for their growing business. So Brenda and I jumped in the truck and went on a road trip. Yes to Yuba is connecting with our CTE program instructors, understanding their curriculum, and helping them connect with local businesses to develop their future workforce. Developing. Yes to Yuba is a safe routes to school celebration that brings together Yuba Gardens, Yuba County Public Works, Health and Human Services, and a number of other community organizations, not only to teach kids how to safely walk, bike, and roll to school, but also celebrating over a $2.1 million investment in Olivehurst on 11th Avenue. And Yes to Yuba is celebrating public investments like building 148 units of affordable housing in West Linda with partners like Regional Housing Authority, and how that kind of investment will drive traffic to nearby businesses. And again, developing. Yes to Yuba is proactively connecting with our businesses on Northville Road in the early stages of construction. So they're not only aware of upcoming construction projects, but they're genuinely excited about the improvements that will come to this commercial corridor. And that brings us to navigating. Yes to Yuba is helping businesses understand what information is required for permits, whether at a festival or their physical location, so that when the inspectors do come, they pass with flying colors. And finally, Yes to Yuba is working with George and his team at Benzene Motors as they're currently looking to relocate their upscale auto dismantling company headquarters to Yuba County. So we're currently working through land use entitlements, perhaps preparing for an upcoming submission to the building department, connecting them to the One Stop as they've already begun hiring, and making warm introductions to complementary businesses in our community. So in conclusion, Yes to Yuba is a countywide movement where together we're connecting, developing, and navigating to make Yuba County a great place to do business. And I have a brief video to share. Christine, I might butcher this. Okay.
Hi, I'm Rachel, your partner here at Yes to Yuba. Yes to Yuba is a county-wide movement where we're saying yes to business and yes to Yuba County. Come on, let me show you.
The team at Yes to Yuba is excited to live, work, and play in this community. We encourage you to call Yuba County home to not only your business, but your family, friends, employees, and your future.
One of the biggest challenges you face in business is where to turn for support. We're here to connect you.
We are committed to building and maintaining the infrastructure that you need to do business in Yuba County.
From the aspiring entrepreneur to the largest corporation, Yes to Yuba is here to help you connect with an abundance of resources, as well as to help you navigate the regulatory oversight that's innate with any business operation.
When you contact Yes to Yuba, you're taking the first step in gaining your own support team. And that support team will give you all the tools necessary to make your business a success.
You have goals and we can't wait to hear about them. Whether you're starting, growing, or relocating a business in Yuba County, we're here to work with you. I can't wait to talk with you.
Great job.
Thank you. Just go back to this and I'll hit. Christine, am I still sharing screen? Okay, great. Thank you again so much to your board and for the public for giving us the time to present this today. I very much look forward to returning to you for future updates, success stories, and perhaps action items that need to be presented to you as this movement generates momentum in our community. So thank you.
Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to add a comment through the chair, if I could. Yuba County was known in 2009 as a place where dreams die. And that's not unusual for building departments. I mean, if you go to Lake County, they have the same theory up there today. But we've evolved over a period of 12 years to a place where contractors actually enjoy coming back here and use Yuba County as an example of what building departments should be. And just tell staff, thank you very much for turning around and giving dreams a hope up in Yuba County. Thanks.
Just a quick comment that direct connection from the government to business is just really critical, and the businesses really appreciate it. So thank you.
Through the chair, another couple of comments to add to what I've just heard. Andy is right. Some years ago, we were not user-friendly at all. And I can tell you, there is no doubt in my mind that our department heads, our staff, have changed their attitude to the point we are recognized for making things happen. And I have nothing but praise for what they've done and been able to do in Yuba County. And then you attach the yes to that. Regulatory still is regulatory, and we have to go through certain processes, but everything you can do to help them is beneficial. That makes it much easier. I still get calls periodically and route them to the right key people to help them walk through this process. And it's not unmanageable. It's a little scary to the public. So thanks for being there. Thank you for helping them walk through this process and creating a better life in Yuba County. And that's what we need. So good job.
So first, I'll just echo what Supervisor Fletcher said. I know since I've been in office, thanks to the work of our amazing staff, Yuba County has a reputation of saying yes and being pro-business and trying to help people through the process. And I think that this just takes that to the next level, right? Not only does our staff have that attitude, but now we have someone that is, a team that is specifically dedicated to helping people establish and grow their business here in Yuba County. I think concierge is an amazing word to describe that. And so I love your enthusiasm. I love your pictures all over the county on Facebook supporting businesses. And so thank you. And I'll be sending some people your way.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up is public communication. Any person may speak about any subject of concern, provided it is within the jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors and not already on today's agenda. The total amount of time allotted for receiving such public communication shall be limited to a total of 15 minutes, and each individual or group will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Prior to this time, speakers are requested to fill out a request to speak card and submit it to the clerk of the Board of Supervisors. If you are participating via Zoom and wish to comment, please use the raise hand function or *9 if you are participating on a phone. And please note that no board action can be taken on comments made under this heading. So at this time, I am going to ask for public comments for items not on today's agenda. So do we have any in the room? We do not. I do not see any on Zoom either at this point in time. Do you see any? Okay. So with that, we will move on to county departments. We will start with item 579, which is Health and Human Services. Approve agreement with California Department of Public Health for the COVID-19 outreach and rapid deployment data use, and authorize chair to execute. So I see Dr. Liu's on. Dr. Liu, are you going to be addressing this, giving the board a presentation? Oops, let me get Dr. Liu unmuted.
Yes, sir. So thank you, Chair Bradford. In terms of the court data and use agreement, as it stands for COVID-19 outreach and rapid deployment. And essentially what it is trying to do is prevent duplication of outreach efforts, of whether it be education about, how to appropriately quarantine, isolate, or education about vaccination efforts. What we have discovered in the past 18 months is that sometimes we don't know in the county what our partners in the state are doing in Yuba County, and sometimes we don't know what our healthcare partners are doing or community-based organization, whether they're funded through the state or otherwise are doing in regards to COVID-19 outreach efforts within Yuba County. So this is the state's effort through the California Department of Public Health to really reconcile all those activities. So we all would agree, whether it's the county public health department or the state California Department of Public Health or CBOs or healthcare providers, everyone just basically input like, okay, I'm doing this date, etc. So then we don't duplicate efforts. And we've actually found that out many, many times. Even you all have sometimes contacted us and say, is that an activity sponsored by the county? And then we're like, oh, we didn't even know about that. So right now what we have to do is a circuitous route where then we reach out to our local coordinator at the California Department of Public Health and say, what's going on is this an activity sponsored by the state? If not, can you please help us to track down that information? So it takes a lot of that effort out. There's no patient identifiable information. This is really just a way for us all working very hard on COVID-19 outreach and education to know sort of the left hand and the right hand knowing what each other are doing.
Great, thank you, Dr. Liu. Are there questions or comments from board members? Okay, I do believe we have a public comment on this item.
Yes, Ms. Rachel Silva.
So she just stepped out. I guess she has to go and get her child. I'm going to try and repeat what her concern was from her phone call this morning to me. She was worried that although the elements that I saw in the document was education, that the word outreach might include other aspects of sharing of information that might be more broad. So when we use the word outreach, are we restricting it only to educational type seminars and commercials and that sort of thing? Or is there something more? When she read the description, it seemed to be incorporating the idea of the meeting together and transferring of information of areas that needed to have enrollments and to be more proactive.
So if I may, I'll try to clarify that, outreach is not just education, but say if we have a vaccination clinic at a, life building. And so we have that activity, but if the state doesn't realize that we're already offering a vaccination clinic, what if they contact the life building host and try to set up another vaccine clinic? So this would be a route for us to minimize that duplication of efforts.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Liu. Any additional public comment on this item? Okay. Ms. Silva, we'll get you unmuted here. Go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had to leave to get my kid. I waited as long as I could. I am on Bluetooth. I am driving properly, not illegally. I'm sorry to not get to hear what the doctor had said. My understanding is that it's possible that this could be educating, but to me it sounds like they need to, are they going to door? Are they going to our schools? These are kids that you're trying to teach about this when it should be adults that are learning about this. There's also, why aren't you going to doctors? Why are you trying to go? Are you going to go door to door? I'm not sure what all to say or how much longer I have because I'm paying attention to the road and I missed what the doctor had said. So I apologize. I waited as long as I could. I should have just stayed on Zoom from the get-go.
No problem. So maybe Dr. Liu could just give a real quick 30-second summary since you missed it about the coordination, which is really what this item is about, coordinating with the state to avoid duplication of effort.
Yes, exactly. So there's no patient identifiable information. We in the county do not go door to door in terms of our educational activities. This is just allows us to know what other partners, whether it be at the state level, healthcare providers, or community-based organizations are doing within the realm of COVID-19 education and outreach so that we don't duplicate efforts and that we know what's happening within the county.
Thank you, Dr. Liu. So hopefully that addressed your comment, Rachel. So with that, seeing no additional public comment, I will entertain a motion. Okay. I have a first from Supervisor Vasquez, a second from Supervisor Fletcher. Before we vote, I do see it appears we have another public comment. Is that correct, Mary? Ms. Wahlberg had her hand up.
You don't have a stop sign. or a blinker. I have no idea.
Okay. It appeared on my screen, but then it went away. So, okay. Great. So I have a first and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez? Yes. Supervisor Blazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So next we will move on to item 558, 2021, Administrative Services, approved professional services agreement with ACO Engineered Systems Incorporated to replace air handler unit and exhaust fans at the Yuba County Courthouse. I'm sorry, I am reading from the wrong page. We don't want to go through every item on the consent agenda, do we? No? Okay, just double checking. I just want to make sure people were paying attention because clearly I wasn't. Well, let's go to item 573, 2021 then, which is County Administrator, which would explain why Administrator Mallon was getting up. Consider redistricting letter to the Citizens Redistricting Commission and take action as appropriate.
Yes, good morning, Chair, members of the board. Kevin Mallon, Yuba County Administrator. The item before you today is an exercise that's going on at all levels of government, and that's due to the 2020 census and the redistricting efforts. We have a workshop to talk about the Board of Supervisors redistricting at 1:30 today, and just to illustrate that everybody's going through this. And so for statewide offices, you have, and state-held offices, as long as federally held offices, you have the similar exercise. And so one of the areas that comes up in redistricting is communities of interest. You know, making sure that those that are redrawing lines understand if you feel strongly that you should be included in a particular community, that you voice that concern. And what is before the board today is a potential letter where the county of Yuba would voice its concern to the commission that's looking at these redistricting at the statewide level for the state assembly, senator, and then also at the federal level for our congressional representative, that the Yuba County should be considered kind of in a community of interest in the northern Sacramento Valley, along with Sutter County, Colusa County, Butte, Glenn, and Tehama, that we have similar interests, and that ideally representation should cover those 6 counties. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board has.
Comments, questions? I guess I would just say I've been monitoring the Citizens Redistricting website, their committee website, and they've been releasing draft maps on a weekly basis. And man, they swing wildly as to where we are placed in with other counties nearby. So sometimes we're in kind of a North State focused district with us and counties in the Sacramento Valley right around us, or maybe in the Sierras. And currently, the draft map for the Congressional district is a little disturbing. It actually puts us in Sutter County in 2 separate districts, and I believe lumps us in with maybe Inyo and maybe even portions of San Bernardino. So anyway, I think this letter is important to express where our community of interest lies, and especially that it lies with Sutter County, but those other counties as well. So
I'll make the motion to approve this resolution.
Okay. Second.
So I have a first from Supervisor Fletcher, a second from Supervisor Vasquez. Is there any public comment on this item? Okay. Seeing none in the room and none on Zoom.
If I could just clarify, yes. It is a letter, not a resolution. Just
excuse me. Yeah. We could turn it into a resolution if you'd like, but letter's fine for now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer?
Vasquez.
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next up is item 521, 2021, Sheriff Coroner approve master equipment agreement with LensLock for body worn cameras and authorized chair to execute. Morning, Sheriff.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good morning. And just as you said, this is a item before you is a request to authorize an agreement between LensLock, it's a company that provides body-worn cameras, with the intent of all of our patrol deputies now going with body-worn cameras on a daily basis. That would include 57 cameras, and it's been approved in the budget 2021-22, which was approved by you. It's about a $70,000 ask or budgeted item for the next 6 years. So body cameras are, it's the 21st century, and we've never had body cameras in Yuba County. And we did a pilot program, and many of you are aware there was a proclamation made. Medal of Valor was awarded to one of our deputies, and it was based off of footage that was captured during an incident with a body-worn camera. It's a desire that we have to be transparent with the members of our public, to capture incidents as they truly occurred. The benefits of the body-worn cameras are, I think, speak for themselves, as well as some potential pitfalls. But the PRA request that we'll get, I'm sure, will increase. The company offers redaction software is included. So I think the benefits far outweigh any potential negative components that may come with that. So
moved.
I can answer any questions that you may have. This is just a need for the Yuba County Sheriff's Department to move into the 21st century with technology.
Through the chair, just a quick question, Sheriff. Some years ago, I had actually made an offer to purchase these individually for the Sheriff's Department. They were in the range of $200 to $300 a piece. And that was a few years ago when technology was still expensive. I had gone directly to the manufacturer, but it put the price somewhere closer, well under the $400,000. Have you had an opportunity to actually go out and look at some of the other pricings today?
So we have, which is one of the reasons why we're going with the company LensLock. They're a fairly new company, and based on other quotes that we received from other providers, it's a bargain. And they're a fairly new company, and the technology has changed so dramatically. The storage alone was a very costly prohibitor for the Sheriff's Department in the past. And now with cloud-based storage and the company taking on that storage, it makes it a pretty easy decision for the money spent to go with this company. So yeah, the technology is changing, and I'm excited to see what happens. And I know it's going to bring a new component to the Sheriff's Department, but I think being transparent with the constituents of our county is so important.
I don't disagree. I like the idea, always have liked that idea. It had a difficulty sales some years ago, but I'll second that motion.
Okay, so I have a first and I have a second. Any additional board comment or questions? Okay. Any public comment on this item? I do not see any in the room, nor do I see any hands raised on Zoom. So with that, roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next is item 592, 2021, Community Development and Services adopt resolution supporting improved transportation infrastructure through implementation of the Goldfields Parkway project.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and fellow board members. Mike Lee with Community Development. So several decades ago, Caltrans was contemplating and evaluated a quote Marysville bypass from the 6570Y up to just south of Oroville. Since then, the Caltrans has kind of openly admitted they've gone away from the new freeway building business. Plus, the costs that they identified for that bypass were, I think it was on the order of $500 million. It was exorbitant. So they basically decided that they weren't going to pursue that project. At that time, this was back in early 2000s, I think, was when that occurred. So county staff, in conjunction with the board, realized that there's still a need for an opportunity to circumvent Marysville. as well as facilitate development in the East Linda area where this facility was originally contemplated. So we continue to work on the project as a local road alternative, presented it to the board. The board adopted a preferred alignment. And since that time, fast forward, we have pursued some right-of-way of certain segments of it. The segment between Earl and Northfield Road has been constructed. The next segment that runs north to Hammond-Smartsville Road will be constructed in the next year or two. Ultimately, the goal is to have it tie in on the south end at the McGowan interchange and on the north end on Highway 20 near Plants Road. We envision local road options for traffic if they want to not go through the town of Marysville, then they can use local roads, Woodruff, Ramirez, Matthews, over to Highway 20, and then use the Goldfields Parkway facility down to Highway 65, essentially bypassing Marysville. So let's see, can't see with my glasses on. So Caltrans is currently, as your board is aware, Caltrans is currently constructing numerous phases of a widening project on State Route 70 through the District 10 area and north into Butte County. There have been some concerns voiced by some local residents that they would prefer that the Highway 70 through D10 be bypassed versus widened. And there's also some concerns voiced about dumping 4 lanes of traffic into Marysville, the bottleneck of Marysville. So Caltrans is essentially openly voiced, I think, that they're not in the freeway building business. So a bypass and due to the high cost of a bypass, it's not really a reality. And that the widening of State Route 70 in its current location is the option that Caltrans is going to pursue. So with all that said, I know there's a lot of history there, but this resolution is intended to garner attention to the Goldfields Parkway project, refocus attention on it as a local road alternative to a Marysville bypass. And so our intention is to, with your board support, to request support from the city of Marysville and BCAG and SACOG and other entities to get a regional support for the project, which would help us pursue state and federal funding opportunities going forward. So I know that was a lot, but hopefully I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
I knew there was a resolution in here somewhere, so thanks for bringing that up, but I'll make the motion to approve. It's an excellent opportunity to take advantage of what we've already started some years ago, and certainly worthwhile. Not that everybody doesn't want a bypass. We'd love to have a bypass, just how to make that happen. But this is a great alternative at this point. So
I'll second after 12 years of watching the frustration of everybody going through Marysville.
Okay, so we have a first.
Hello.
We have a first and a second. I'm sure we'll have some board comment and we'll take some public comment too. So don't worry, we're not voting yet. So Supervisor Blazer, do you have some comment?
Yeah, this is obviously is not what everybody really wants, but it's something that I think is probably our most current and best option. I'm a little mystified about the thinking of Caltrans over the last, 3 decades. They've done a good job on improving 4 freeways with a bullseye being Marysville. You would think you would see that coming, that might be a problem. There's been improvements on 20 coming in from the east and west, 70 from the south, now from the north, all dumping into Marysville. So moving ahead, we have to do what we have, what options, what assets we have. So I'm all for any kind of way to help relieve the traffic in Marysville, because it's already at gridlock, and a few more years it's going to be very bad.
think, I think Supervisor Blazer really, hit the nail on the head. It's not what everyone would prefer. A big, beautiful freeway going around Marysville, I think, is what everyone would prefer. But it's kind of the best we can do, right? And so I think it's very important. Marysville does have a huge traffic issue, and to be able to get traffic to take alternate routes outside the city is very beneficial to our county. And so I think it's very important. Do you, and I probably should have asked this ahead of time so you could have prepared, but do you happen to have just a rough cost estimate of the remaining portions of the project, or if not specifically the portion from Hamilton Smartsville to Highway 20? I mean, is it $100 million? Is it $50 million?
Yeah, I think $100 million would be a good ballpark figure.
For just that section, or for the remaining?
Well,
I know that's most of what's remaining, but.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's hard.
Okay.
Probably for that segment.
Okay.
I mean, you do have to get the bridge over the river is going to be the biggest expense, right?
Right.
So that could be 30, 40 million just there for that piece.
Okay. Great. So any additional board comment?
So what is the projected percentage decrease in traffic for Marysville once this is completed? Is it going to help by half? Is it going to help by 10%? What would the effect be?
I don't know that I could answer that accurately. It won't be half. It's been a long time since I've seen these numbers.
If I could, through the chair, I recall this when we did the traffic analysis for our general plan update in 2011, and it projected what the traffic would be like in 2030 with the Goldfields Parkway in place, and it peeled off about a quarter of the traffic that would have normally gone through Marysville.
Excellent.
That's what I recalled. That's going to be my guess.
And then as far as the funding sources, there's local match, there's other aspects to it. What is, again, the hoped for matching? Is it 50% or 2-to-1 matching, or what is it that normally communities receive in the way of matching?
Well, we did include a component in our countywide traffic impact fee program for this facility. And that essentially is so we have some identified funding that we can use as a local match to pursue the state and federal funding. If it's 100, let's just round numbers. If it's $100 million we're seeking, right? We have, let's say, 10 million that we're allocating through our fee program. So we're going to be looking for 90% other sources of funding.
And is that a number that is normally funded by state and federal sources?
It certainly can be, yes.
Okay. And then I forgot my other question, so I guess we'll go.
Well, I'll make a comment and maybe you can remember it. So I'm going to SACOG, or not SACOG, to Cap in the spring, and I'll be on the transportation team. And so hopefully if they're requesting, a list of local projects to advocate for as a region, maybe this is one we can add to the list. So if that opportunity comes up, I will certainly reach out.
That would be wonderful. And we will, assuming your board supports this resolution, then we will reach out to, like I suggested earlier, SACOG and the city of Marysville, BCAG, to try to get as much regional support as we can.
Great. Did it come to your mind? No? Okay. So I believe I already asked for public comment. We do have some public comment. Come on
Chair, Pamela Warmack.
Morning.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about this. I am president of Keep 70 Safe, and for the last year, we have also worked with the group Save Marysville. And as a representative, I want to voice a couple of concerns that we have about Goldfields Parkway basically serving as a state bypass alternative. So first of all, of course, is the cost of purchasing the right-of-way, the building of the roadway and the bridge over the Yuba River, and maintaining them at the cost of taxpayers' expense. We are not a county with deep pockets, and even though we might be pursuing other avenues, why would we commit to this before we have exhausted all the resources to get a commitment from the state, from Caltrans, and or the federal government to finance and construct a truly safe and efficient state bypass that would chiefly divert state highway traffic, not local? So, and why would we choose with Goldfields Parkway to push state highway traffic with its resulting air and noise pollution through another Yuba County residential neighborhood? Edgewater, Linda, Hallwood, District 10. You should be well aware of the negative health consequences of heavy traffic. There's cancer, childhood leukemia, stroke, heart disease, to name just a few. The stop signs and or stoplights that will be needed through these residential neighborhoods will create stop and go traffic, which increases both pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. Yuba County needs to prevent the building of an inefficient expressway through these neighborhoods to keep its citizens healthy and happy. Instead, please work towards a truly efficient bypass that facilitates non-stop travel for the state highway system and creates an environment where people want to live. As Supervisor Fletcher said, make Yuba County a better place to live. So is this really the best we can do? Is it really? I think we can do better. I think we must do better. Thank you.
Thank you.
I remember my question now.
Oh, great.
So it was actually in regards to that. But first, let me ask, we have exhausted everything that the state will do. The state refuses to do bypasses. It's outside of their playbook anymore, and it's not going to happen. So it has been exhausted, correct?
That is my opinion, correct.
Okay. As far as the 5 lanes that are coming in from the north, if we were to present the bypass or the expressway, the Goldfields Parkway, to Caltrans as here's where we're going to be connecting, can you, instead of putting 5 lanes into Marysville, connect to this? Would that be would that improve the situation, or no? Those lanes are already set and that isn't going to change.
The 5 laning, as far as my understanding, is that it's already set. The design's essentially done, and they're constructing different phases as we speak.
Okay.
So I think that train has left the tracks as far as building the 5-lane facility down into the city of Marysville.
Right.
Okay. Do we have any additional public comment? Usually we can't do back and forth. I'm sorry, just because of what it can turn into. So I apologize for that. Yeah, please feel free to email the board afterwards. We certainly want the information, and that's totally an acceptable way to do that. So, okay, no additional public comment. Then roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will move on to item 553, 2021. Community Development and Services adopt resolution authorizing the advancing of funds from Fund 299 Building Trust to Community Development Block Grant Program for use on multiple projects, and authorized Community Development and Services Director or his designee to execute all necessary documents.
Mike Lee again, Community Development. So we've been, county's been very successful over the last couple of years getting CDBG grants, which is exciting news and these are to support low to moderate income housing. These types of grants, however, are, they pay in arrears, right? So we have to expend the funds up front, and then they will reimburse us for those expenditures. So the reason we're before you today is essentially a cash flow issue. When you, all of these proposed projects on the list attached to the staff report have been before your board before. But when we work through them all over the next few years, there's going to be a lot of cash flow coming in and out. And we need a source of funds to be able to pay our expenditures up front, and then while we await reimbursement. So our proposal is the building trust, which has adequate funds in it, to be essentially our bank that'll pay the bills up front while we await reimbursement. And we are requesting up to $2.667 million. I don't ever envision actually expending that much at one time due to the timeframes of the different projects and the money coming in and out. I highly doubt that we'll actually get up to that amount, but that was a conservative estimate. And then as soon as the revenues are received from the state, the reimbursements, then we will immediately reimburse the 299 building trust. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the board?
I so move.
Okay, I have a first from Supervisor Fuhrer, a second from Supervisor Vasquez. Any public comment on this item? I don't see any in the room, none on Zoom. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is item 599, 2021, Board of Supervisors. Appoint 2022 representative and alternate to serve on the Rural County Representatives of California, RCRC, Golden State Finance Authority, and Golden State Connect Authority. And I guess I'll take this one. So this is to appoint our representative and our alternate to those organizations. It should be the same individuals that are appointed as the representative and the alternate to all three of those organizations, as they lump the meetings together on purpose. And even though they're separate legal authorities, kind of to some extent treated as one group. And so the current representatives, Supervisor Fletcher is the representative, and I'm serving as the alternate. I know Supervisor Fletcher would like to continue to serve as the representative and has served in that role for many years and has some great relationships with that organization. I believe I've been the alternate for just 1 year, but I've just started to make some relationships with the people in the organization and certainly have a desire to continue to serve in that capacity. So it's up to the board who we appoint.
Was that a motion to? I'll second.
Oh, sure. Okay. That will be a motion to appoint the current representatives for the following year.
Grudgingly, no.
And we have a second as well from Supervisor Vasquez. And so is there any public comment on this item, either in the room, on Zoom? Any comment or question from the board? Okay, so roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Great, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Okay, next up is item 566, 2021, Human Resources. Recommend approval of the Yuba County Employee Referral Bonus Program as a pilot program to enlist the assistance of current county employees in the recruitment effort to fill vacant positions. Good morning, Jill.
Good morning, Chairman Bradford and members of the board. I am asking for your authority to approve a pilot program for the first time, the Yuba County Employee Referral Bonus Program. Now, this program would be, like I said, on a pilot basis, and it would go through June of 2023, so a little over a year and a half. And this program would just enlist the assistance of county employees in filling current vacancies. So we currently have a lot of open vacant positions we're recruiting for. We're having a really hard time recruiting. And we think that our employees probably have networks of people that they know that would be good county employees, and we would like them to refer them. So through the application process, the individual who's applying would put the employee's name on the application. And then if that person was selected after the new hire's first month of employment, the referring employee would get $500. And after the person passes probation, which is generally a year long, the referring employee would get another $500. So at this point, the budget estimate is that potentially we could spend in the first fiscal year $10,000 on this of one-time money. That would be if we hired 20 people through this program. So that's it's a pretty aggressive estimate of how many we could potentially hire. It most likely would be less than that. And in addition to that, we would then assess this program after, the period of time it would sunset in 2023, but we would come to your board prior to that, and we would look at the data and see how the program's working to determine if we want to continue it. So done a lot of research into these types of programs that have been done in other counties or in the private sector. have spoken to some individuals who've had them in place for a long time, excuse me, and try to put things into our program that would address any issues they've had in the past. For example, by splitting up the amount, between the first month of employment and probation, so that we're not expending the money when the person could just, leave quickly. So happy to answer any questions and looking forward to doing this with your approval.
Questions, comments from the board?
In today's day and age, this will be a real help in finding actual people versus fishing, so to speak. So I'll make that motion.
Okay, I have a first. Do I have a second?
So through the chair,
second.
Who would have thought that we would have to go through this process to get individuals to work for a county? And yet throughout the nation, and we see both Gary and I on NACO, that it is all across the nation, the same issue. So I'll make the second. It's a valuable tool to get us back into the workforce and get key people and important positions filled. So.
Okay, any additional board comments or questions? Any public comment or questions on this item? Don't see any in the room or on Zoom. So with that, we'll do roll call vote.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, it has been over 2 hours. Do we need a quick break or we want to push through to closed session?
We have a
I'd
10
like-
o'clock.
I'd like a break.
That we were supposed to.
Okay, you're good? Okay, well.
We're not going to close session.
We eventually will. Not right now. No, I was asking if we wanted to have a break now or to have the break after we finish the agenda before a closed session. Sorry if I wasn't clear on that. So it seems like everyone's okay. So we will continue to press through a few more items and then we'll take a break. So next we're going to move on to ordinances and public hearings. Mary, would you read the paragraph there for me, please?
If you challenge in court the action or decision of the Yuba County Board of Supervisors regarding a zoning, planning, land use, or environmental protection matter made at any hearing described in this notice, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at such hearing or in written correspondence delivered to the Yuba County Board of Supervisors at or prior to such hearing. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual or group.
Great, thank you. So first is item 571, 2021. It's a timed item for 10 a.m. or later, so we're good there. County Administrator, public hearing, hold public hearing and adopt resolution approving an amendment to the Yuba-Sutter collection service agreement for associated rates pertaining to the maximum service rates Ponderosa landfill post-closure fees, and I will open the public hearing.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Kevin Mallon, Yuba County Administrator. And no, this isn't deja vu for those that are eagle-eyed and going, wait a minute, didn't we just adopt these rates? And I have to apologize. So what happened was we had the right rates at one point, and then there was a table that was reformatted. There was a shuffle between county staff and Recology, and then the wrong table was inserted in your board packet last time. And the numbers were so close that, like, for example, a residential customer should be paying $31.45 a month, and instead on that table that you adopted last time, it said $31.25. And so little things like that. So we conferred with County Council, and County Council agreed that, I know for government work, it's close enough, but he said, no, need to come back, do this again, and make sure we have the right table in there. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
I'm guessing we've asked all our questions the last 2 times we've seen this, but if there's any new questions, we could certainly ask them. Will we be seeing it one more time then, since it's a ordinance? Is
I
that?
sure hope not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure, since some of these we have to do twice, so that's what I wasn't sure. Okay. Okay.
Motion to approve.
So I have a first from Supervisor Fletcher and a second from Supervisor Vasquez. Any public comment on this item? I don't see any in the room or any on Zoom. So roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Next up is item 578, 2021, Clerk Recorder, Registrar of Voters, Ordinance, hold public hearing, waive first reading, and introduce ordinance adding new chapter 2.66, electronic filing of campaign finance disclosures, to Title II, Administration of the Yuba County Ordinance Code. I will open the public hearing.
Good morning again. Terry Hansen, Yuba County Clerk Recorder, Registrar of Voters. This ordinance is proposed as a direct result of recent legislation, which requires FPPC filings to be posted on county websites. This, of course, will be done with appropriate redaction of personal information. It will permit people to have more timely access to this information of financial disclosures for public officials. And it's pretty routine. There will be a little bit of overlapping this time since the implementation of the ordinance and the two public hearings and everything. So there will be a little overlapping of filing in person, but this will give us the opportunity to notify everybody that this opportunity will be available to them for their next filing.
Okay, so I just have a quick question. So will this just be we fill out the forms we have to fill out now and they get posted online, or is the state actually going to an online system like they did with the Form 700?
It'll be a local website.
Oh, okay. So we'll fill it out online?
Yes, you will fill it out online. It'll be posted and it'll be, as I said, appropriately redacted.
Okay, well, I think that's...
And I think it will eliminate a lot of the back and forth you have with our office on correcting errors and things, that we'll be able to do that more timely.
Great. Well, I think that's great news for the public and hopefully great news for us as far as ease of filling it out.
I think it will be.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve.
Okay, I have a first.
I have a question.
Do you want to make a second
I
first?
still got to wait a minute.
Can I get a second first? I'm trying
Second, I'll second.
Okay. Now you can ask your question.
Are there any chances that public people are going to get some kind of an email or a reminder on when certain forms are due?
Yes.
Good.
I would hope so.
Thank you.
Great. Good question. Okay. So any public comment on this item? Okay. Don't see any in the room. Don't see any on Zoom. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhr?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Next is correspondence. It is as listed on the agenda. Oh, wait, did I skip one? Oh, I did. Look at that. I'm not doing so good today, am I? I thought we were just going to start and end our day with Terry. That's what was on my mind. So. Okay. Item 584, 2021, County Administrator. Ordinance, hold public hearing, waive first reading, and introduce ordinance repealing Chapter 2.05 of Title II of the Yuba County Ordinance Code relating to the county's adoption of supervisorial district boundaries based on United States General Census information. Yeah, this is a good one.
Yes. Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Kevin Mallon, Yuba County Administrator. And this is part of a process that we described to the board earlier this year. And it's a process that should conclude with the board at the next board meeting, which will be on December 14th. So between now and then, just to kind of let you know how this fits into the process, is on December 14th, ideally, in an ideal situation, the board will adopt a resolution at the December 14th meeting with a new supervisorial boundaries that'll be described graphically with a map. And also at that meeting, the board will have a second hearing on this chapter to remove this chapter from our ordinance code. We're looking forward to kind of a new way of describing our supervisorial district boundaries. Previously, the only way we could describe them was through a meets and bounds description, which good luck for any layperson to ever figure out where the boundary actually is when you read the narrative description. So this is removing the old and on with the new. And because it's an ordinance, it takes 2 hearings. And so we're going to introduce it today's board meeting. Hopefully the board approves that, and then we'll remove it officially on the December 14th board meeting. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board has.
Open the public hearing. Any questions from the board? Comments from the public? Okay, seeing. And I have a first from Supervisor Fuhrer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Supervisor Vasquez. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And if I didn't, I'll close all 3 public hearings as well. So just in case. So now we'll move on to board and staff member reports. Supervisor Vasquez.
It's been a long meeting, so I would love to take a break. That's it.
Supervisor Blazer.
2 quick items. On the 11th day of the 11th month at 11 o'clock is the Veterans Day Parade, Marysville. So that is Thursday, I believe. We have not had one for a couple of years because of COVID and smoke, I believe. Should be a big turnout, and you'll get a chance to see the supervisors in the parade. And quickly, the walls are going up at the Cedar Lane affordable housing project, in case you haven't been by there.
Wow.
Supervisor Fuhrer. Supervisor Fletcher.
Just a quick couple of comments. In the FEMA report most recently, there was an article about Camptonville biomass plant as a model of looking at the things they've done, how long it's taken. So it's available on the FEMA website if anyone would like to take a look. And for the benefit of the board, there was also an article from Arlington Communication Infrastructure Upgrade where they used their ARP money to put some $17 million, I believe, into fiber optics throughout the county for communication purposes. A great little article. I'll pass this down if anybody would like to take a look at it.
Thank you. Council?
Name is Isaiah Julian Tovar.
Absolutely. Okay. Council.
After that, no, nothing.
CAO Mallon.
No, other than you'll have plenty of action items the December 14th board meeting. I mentioned one of them with redistricting, but plenty of other ones. Been working actively with the 9 fire districts on the Measure K distribution. Hopefully those agreements will be before the board December 14th, as well as maybe some other Measure K related items. So,
okay.
Funds.
we made it very clear that all 9 have to be in agreement. No dissension.
Okay, so I don't have anything this morning either. So next we have a closed session. It's as listed. After the closed session, we will be in recess until 1:30, at which point we'll have a public hearing for redistricting. And prior to going into closed session, we will take a 10-minute break. So thank you.
All aboard!